And now to talk everything Texans, Zack Tawatari is here. Cody Stoots from Houston Football is here, as well as former Texan Seth Payne from Sports Radio 610. Good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
Happy to be here. Happy to be on the final one of the year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you can only go up in the new year from here.
That's true. That's true.
Yes. Yes. I'm just happy to be playoff alive. I'm not thinking about anything about the right now, just like everybody on the podcast tell you to do. Be mindful.
Yes, January football is very important to Seth. And now let's talk about the emoji, which best describes what we saw on Saturday. Cody, you're going first. Which one represents how you're feeling?
This is a typical Texans victory, okay? This is one where the defense did what they're supposed to do. The offense had a quarter and a half plus lull, and it's exactly how the Texans win all these football games. The defense saved the offense. The offense did just enough. Ka'imi Fairbairn kicked field goals. So it's the feeling I have after basically every Texans win. Nice little smile.
All right, and now Seth, Zack is going to help you.
Zack, put a circle around that thinking emoji because it's I'm trying to be mindful. Like I said, that's going to be my New Year's resolution. But I cannot help but look ahead to the playoffs and just wonder how long can they continue to win by this formula? Exactly what Cody just said. This just down to the wire, brilliant defense, but you just find yourself wringing your hands in the fourth quarter. We'll see. These guys have a knack for winning and coming up clutch. It's just it's hard to string that along in the playoffs.
It's true. You wonder how sustainable this is because they have to be so excellent on defense. Having said that, I'm still happy because the Texans were able to defeat an opponent in the Chargers who really was very similar to them in almost every statistical category, and they proved that they were the better team, and we saw a couple explosive plays, so that was cool.
Without a doubt, and that's where I'm headed because maybe I just have that first quarter still burned into my brain. I'm going to go right here in the sense that, wow, you were up 14-0. You were pressuring Justin Herbert, and that first quarter was some of the best football we've seen all season for the Texans. And all the other issues, the first quarter still sticks out to me the most. And now, since that's what we're saying, let's now check out the Texans' play of the week.
Just keep that going. It can't just be in the first quarter. It got to be throughout the whole game. So I think something we can learn from is just keeping the gas on and making sure, we're still calling it. I'm taking care of the ball and, we're moving forward.
C.J. Stroud knows that early momentum must extend throughout the game. So aside from those two big pass plays, is there anything else encouraging about what the Texans did offensively?
I really love the rushing attack that the Texans put together in this one. Jawar Jordan and Woody Marks, I thought the mix was really nice from Nick Caley. That's a really tough rush defense, and the Texans haven't always had success running the football. They have these things called runs to nowhere, where they go for 0 or negative yards a lot of times. There weren't a lot of those, and even Jawar Jordan with the agility, Woody Marks with his physicality were able to get some of those extra yards. So I really like the rushing attack. In fact, I'd go as far as to say, bouncing back from last week's poor performance on the ground, this is one of the better rushing performances of the season by the Texans when you factor in who the opponent is.
Yeah, I was encouraged by the rushing performance, too. Even though it's not electric, you can consistently, or at least more consistently, grind out yards. The pass protection certainly wasn't perfect, but C.J. Stroud didn't get sacked at all against one of the best pass rushing units on the road. That's progress compared to what we were seeing earlier in the season. C.J.'s a part of that. He's getting rid of the ball quickly. The one part of all of that is that they're still having a really hard time adjusting to the blitz. At least he's not getting sacked and making the situation worse. But the third quarter Rocky movie that it becomes when a team decides to just start throwing haymakers at the Texans, somehow they, like Rocky, make it through to the end. But I'd love to see them build on that and get better and perhaps spring some big plays versus the blitz. But they're keeping CJ upright more often than not.
I was encouraged by the offensive line when you look at this group did not have its two bookends. Both were injured, and they didn't allow a sack. So, to me, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it was also the offensive line for me. I mean, I think the big part of the conversation going into this game was the fact that the Chargers had a really good defensive front and the Texans were banged up on the offensive line. They still had an effective rushing attack, to both Cody and Seth's points. and the line was good. They didn't allow a sack, so.
It was a win. It was a win all around. Why not? Right?
Well, there was one that got wiped away by a penalty.
True.
So the box score doesn't count.
True.
And the O-lineman will tell you, well, we didn't give one out. It's the box score.
Hey, Danielle Hunter had his robbed on a similar ticky-tack penalty on the play before, so that all washes out.
Yeah. I know a lot of fans were upset about the officiating, so let's not even go down that road. Nico Collins was targeted only 4 times, but he was also a factor during those 2 long TD passes. How so, Seth?
He's got a gravitational pull. Defenses have to account for him, and you saw it on both of those long touchdown passes.
And yes, all of us would agree Jalen Noel needs more touches. And now, the Texans, they have been stacking wins like gifts in December. Give me your biggest fear of what might tumble this whole thing to the ground. We have our boards here. We're going to write down our fears because you want to hold them as long as possible before revealing them. Seth, what is your biggest fear? Give us what your biggest fear is.
My second biggest fear after my first biggest fear of the fact that I don't have a board is this. My biggest Texans fear is injuries specifically to the defense. This team is being carried by the defense. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen what can happen when last week Azeez Alshire is out. All of a sudden, the run defense is just not up to their standards. What happens this week when Kamari Lassiter goes out for a series or 2, and all of a sudden you have to rely on a backup who gets targeted heavily and immediately and effectively by the Chargers? This defense is so good, but they're good because of the players on the field. So if these guys can just stay healthy for a few more weeks, that is a key and critical part of this team.
Without a doubt, and I think the Texans were very fortunate that some of those things that we saw Saturday are not serious injuries. What are you most fearful of?
I'm worried about pressure. Not like the pressure of being in the playoffs for the 3rd straight year, the pressure of a big game, but the pressure on C.J. Stroud. This offense just kind of falls apart when there's lots of pressure headed towards this offensive line. The blocking falls apart. Sometimes the rushing attack falls apart. Stroud gets a little jittery. When he is protected and they take care of him, you see stuff like the first quarter. You see stuff like the Cardinals game where they start fast and stay good throughout the course of it, but when they get under pressure, shout out to Queen, when they get under pressure, they just fall apart. Caley, Stroud, the tight ends, the running backs, and the offensive line. And if that happens for an extended period of time against better offenses that can score against this defense, you'll be in trouble.
Mine may be a byproduct of yours. I'm fearful of a tired defense, one that is out on the field so much, and then penalties because these Texans typically rack up a lot of penalties in a game. And in a playoff game in which 1 or 2, 3, 4 plays will decide the outcome, penalties worry me, and then obviously a defense that's on the field too long.
Explosives is the thing
which
that
may be a
worries
byproduct of
me.
this.
Exactly. They go hand in. It's almost like we knew what was going on here. Yes, explosives are what scare me, especially because with these games being so low scoring, one play could decide everything, as we've seen. I mean, the Texans in this previous game against the Chargers, that's usually them allowing one big explosive play on defense and locking it down the rest of the game. Could have flipped the script, and it could flip the script in the playoffs.
You know, one encouraging part of that was that Kayvon Wallace came in and played his first snaps as a safety this season and played a lot. This has turned into an open tryout at safety pretty much all season long because of either C.J. Gardner-Johnson going out, multiple other injuries in the secondary. Jalen Reed might come back and he'll have a shot at it. But the Kayvon Wallace debut was very, very promising. Hopefully they can build on that.
All right, and that is a nice segue for what we will be talking about next on Sports Extra. Cody's staying here, Seth is staying here, Zack is staying here as Sports Extra rolls on. Welcome back to Sports Extra. More about the Texans' win over the Chargers. You told me earlier you believe Nick Caserio deserves some credit for Saturday's victory. Please tell the rest of us why.
It's not easy to find guys who have been on the couch or on another team's practice squad or not even in football for whatever reason recently and have them come in and play key roles, but the Texans somehow did that this week. Kayvon Wallace comes in, he plays all of Miles Bryant's snaps on defense and was pretty physical in that. You've got Lecky Fotu, who was just out there hanging around. He's on the practice squad. They promote him for this game. That looks really good. Nick Caserio's done a pretty good job of late in the year finding players for this roster to help. That's how Derek Barnett got here at one point. That's how Tommy Togiai got here at one point. And then to have Blake Fisher step in that moment, a failed draft pick up to this point, and play as well as Blake Fisher did when Ariante Ursary is out, when Trent Brown's out, and they've done everything they can, the gymnastics to keep him off the field. They got to put him on the field, and Fisher plays well. Hey, credit to Caserio. Better late than never for some of these draft picks to show up and to get the guys off the street and have them ready. That's a really good job by Caserio to find the guys with talent and the coaching staff to have them ready.
Well, I think that the combination of the GM and the coach together really matters, and those two guys, and D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio, they've identified a certain type of player, and you can see it. You don't even have to know much about football, but you see the way that these guys play, the ferocity with which they play, and it's obvious. It jumps off the screen at you, and that's not always the case, obviously. Sometimes you might have a really bright football coach and you might have a really bright GM, but they're just not on the same page. I've been on teams like that where I respected both the guys, but I could tell that they just didn't have the synergy that both Nick and D'Amico do. So far, so good. The young guys have really done a great job. This year's draft class all played many of them played an integral role in not just last night's victory, but a bunch of victories this year.
And the result is this: 8 straight wins and 11 victories for the season. Cody Stoots from HOUfootball.com. SNL Texans Talk with Landry Locker and the Texans Collective every Tuesday, right?
Every Monday.
Every Monday.
Every Monday on YouTube. But yeah, you can find us wherever.
All right. And then, of course, Seth Payne, you can listen to him weekdays on Sports Radio 610. All of you, both of you, thank you for joining us here on Sports Extra, the final one of 2025.
Thank you. I will be plagiarizing AHOU football tomorrow morning, as I do every single day.